Hello, beautiful ones. Here on this new moon. It's pouring rain outside. Should take a peek. Here we are by it's a little hard to see. We're here by the ocean, the Salish Sea, and I want to welcome everyone for popping on for Ask the Inviisbles. And so this is an opportunity to bring forth and receive these transmissions for yourself, for the planet, for humanity. And I see this as kind of just a melding pot of different teachings and wisdoms and truths and guidance and homework and exploration of how to navigate this life path together and as a whole. And so the basic guidelines are believe it, receive it, leave it, or lend it. So using your own internal compass and navigational source to really direct if the teaching's for you, if it's important, it's something that you want to digest and work on later when you have the bandwidth or the support network to do so. And know that a lot of these teachings are universal. So even though it's coming for somebody else, if you're watching this, most likely there's a kindred truth there. There's a truth that connects and binds you all in some way. So moving onwards, I'm just gonna ring this bell and bring us into presence. And then I'm gonna get on with our first question of the day. So the first question I have is in regards to, I'm moving, so I'm in the transition. I've got things in boxes. I'm going through all the nitty gritties, and it's been a really beautiful journey of remembering myself through objects. So going through all of my journals and going through my daughter's objects and then pictures and finding like what's stagnant, what needs to go. And I used to do my sessions they're all handwritten, a lot of my internal first sessions. So I have binders and binders of like hundreds of clients and hundreds of sessions that have all been handwritten. And so like going through those and kind of burning a bunch and realizing that there's only so much I can hold. And so in this process of releasing and refining and creating space for this next upgrade, which I feel like anytime there's a move in my life, it seems like it's a great gift to be able to go through all of my objects and really choose clearly, what serves me now, what serves the direction I'm going in, what reflects me and what I believe in now and what I want to see in my world and have and be responsible for. Because I've noticed that each object, in some ways, there's a responsibility to be accountable to taking care of it and cleaning it and being aware of it, hopefully using it. And so the more objects that can be in one's life without feeling like you actually have the capacity to take care of it can actually take away from energy that could be available for other things in your life, right? At least that's my experience. So my question today, and for anyone popping on, hello and welcome to Saera Burns and the Inviisbles. You're welcome to put your comments or your questions, your personal questions for yourself, humanity, or the planet in the thread below. And I'm going to start first. So my question in relation to the shedding process and this refining who I am through my objects and who I want to be to the world is there any guidance that the Inviisbles have for people who are feeling like attachments to objects or to the physical plane in a way that might be unhealthy, in a way that might be stagnating? And so if there's any guidance for people that do feel like there is some big shift that's needed, whether it's a shift of, hello, Donald, whether it's a shift of the feel that you need to move, right? The feel that you need to have this transition, or the feel that you need to release, or you have too much attachment to some of the things in your life. And so let's get into that. Let's get into the attachments of the physical plane and the guidance on that. So here we go. So if the objects that are existing in your life, whether it's as simple as a wrapper from something you've eaten, or as complex as a home, as buildings and structures, as a room, as your clothing, all of these in some way hold a symbolic value to your soul. So if you get into the idea that this life is full of symbolism and archetypes and messages that can speak to you when you're ready to it. Same goes for the lessons of objects. If there are objects in your life, they also can serve that role as being a messenger, being something that represents something to you and to your soul. Even if it's as simple as when you receive that and the memories that connected to those objects. Those memories then give that object life, even if the object itself is not useful in your life anymore. And so disengaging from the energetic imprints that are embedded in things in your life, in objects in your life, even in the homes you live in, so that you can get clear with what is it that you truly value that you are not willing to release. And is that truly in the object, or is something that the object only reminds you of? Does that object remind you of that friendship? Does that object remind you of feeling regal, if it's garments that really hold you in a certain way? So in this process of purging and releasing, in this process of choosing to shift yourself in a big way, either from moving, from businesses, listening to what is the essence that you are not willing to release, that may be coded in the objects. And then how can you have a relationship with creating more of that experience in your life? Because sometimes objects can also anchor in the reminder that there's something there that you love and appreciate. So if it's an object connected with somebody, how can you actually start connecting more with that individual if it's possible, or rekindling your relationship with them? To notice if maybe what you hold on to is also not just a reminder that there's unfinished business, but it's to instigate deeper connections. That's just an idea. And so lastly, if you are in your room right now or wherever you are, an exercise that we have is to look around your space and allow an object in your space to speak up to you. Get your attention and look into that and feel, what does this symbolize to you? Okay? What part of your life does it symbolize? Either a memory, what do you feel when you look at that object? What is it a tool of? What can it support you in creating ease and grace in your life as a tool? What is it a reminder of? And then if you want, start looking around your room and seeing the different things around you right now as that lesson to explore. And then in that, making that conscious choice, does this serve me in my life now? And if it's not, explore how to shift that. The same goes the same with even if there's stagnancy in the form of garbage or piling up of papers. Sometimes that represents that there hasn't been an attentiveness to the mind and to responsibilities. So perhaps in some ways there may be too many responsibilities that you don't have the space to work with. So how can you release responsibilities in your life to have more energy available? And that's undeniably, inevitably the end of this journey and this exploration with the objects in your life. Are they bringing more energy into your life, into the future too? Or are they depleting you? And using your own discernment there. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So I'm just going to go on. So how this works is, put a question for yourself, humanity, or the planet, and we'll get to them. If it's a private question and you don't want your name associated to it, you're welcome to send me a private message, and I will look at those throughout the time. So here we go. The next question that we've got is from Smila. Hello, Francesca. And she says, hey, dear Sarah, I have a question for my cousin Manita's daughter. She often feels like she's not right here on the planet and would prefer to be deaf. So today I asked the Inviisbles if there's any guidance for Masha, Manita's daughter, about what she needs to feel happier and positive in her life. Thank you. So one thing is, I do have a bit of a rule that I can't do readings for other people I'm really choosing that. So, but what I can do without their permission, unless I have her permission, were you given permission from her for me to do a reading? Because if not, I could do a reading, I could kind of switch the reading around. So is there anything as an aunt that, or not an aunt, I guess it'd be, or whatever that would be. Is there anything that you can do to support and to bring more life? Does that make sense? Unless there's a way that you want to reword it so that I'm not looking into somebody else without their permission. I'm just going to wait for your comment. And while I'm waiting for your response, I'm just going to check to see if we have any other messages. All right. So, since are you there, Francesca, my dear? All right, so I'm just gonna move on. So does anyone else have any questions? Because until I hear from Francesca about clarifying if there's a way that I can word that for herself or for humanity or the planet, I guess I could do that myself since I'm not hearing from you. So how to word that in a way that's more widespread is maybe if there's any guidance or insights for the youth of the planet that are going through extreme depression, that are going through challenges in this time in their lives. And how, is there any guidance on how just maybe support? Oh, you're responding. I'm missing out the comments. All right. So yeah, is there any support towards people that are, especially our youth? Oh, she says, we can do what you suggested, but I ask her and she's okay with my question for her. Okay. How about let's do both of them? Let's start with your question for her. So this is the question to see if there's any guidance from Masha about what can support her in her journey right now in this life to bring forth more happiness, if that's important. And then we're going to go into if any guidance for the youth of these days that are going through deep depression or challenges with what's coming up on the planet and in their own lives. And welcome everyone for popping on. Feel free to put your question after. If you put a question next, you will be after this because we have no one else queued. So here we go. This is from Masha. Firstly, we see that it's in the air around her as well. We see that there's energy that's around her in her life that she's taking in and inhaling and taking in as though it is life force to sustain her. And this also can go for many of the youth of this planet. What is the air that humanity or the culture is feeding this next generation? Saying that it's going to give them life force, yet it depletes them. Because we see that is in some ways what's happening. So is there any way that she can explore what in her life may have false preconceptions? That it's there to support her? Or that it's giving her something? This can also go towards food. It can go towards communication that's near her. Ways that she might be trying to filter what's happening around her. And so something else we see is that there's something connected. I'm seeing like there's something around her mouth. I don't know if she's had braces or like if there's like insecurities about the mouth or there's something about her mouth area. It could be about communication. It could be about not being able to speak or even speak. Like there's something about it's almost this feeling of like the feeling I had is like, just say you're a teenager and you had braces and you didn't feel really good about it. It's kind of this awkward thing where you kind of were uncomfortable, like even smiling. And there's some sort of relationship there with possibly a certain like insecurity that is actually affecting her capacity to really even express herself to herself. There's like how do I describe this? Let's see if I can say more. So when addressing what are the words that one cannot speak to themselves, is the support and the encouragement that has been put under the rug or that feels like it is an entirely different room than where someone is. This can happen through times of depression. This feeling that the depression is the room that you are in, that you breathe in that essence, that is the life force that you take in and that you live and create from. So what if you're able to realize that depression itself may just be a room that one is standing within and sitting in and learning from, but how to move out of that room and find another room to feel held by. Because in some ways, even depression can hold people, if that makes sense. That it is an ecosystem, that there's a palpability to it. To be held by something that you can feel, even if the feeling is almost akin to numbness. They're still being held in that. So to transition, there needs to be an alternative, right? Something that somebody can feel held in similar ways that they can be authentic in and be fully absorbed by. The study of exploring emotions that happens, especially during teenagehood, but between 12 to 16, 18. There's this time in youth's life, we're going to get into also bringing this into a collective about youth. Okay. There's a time in youth's life around that, in all of our lives, where we get to explore the explosions of raw emotions, but connected with our capacity to witness ourselves in them. And it's that witnessing ourselves during this that can be astonishingly awkward, right? Because there is this observer, and the observer is noting how these expressions may look to the world, how they may look to the people around you. There's almost that observing ourself aspect, or oneself, as a youth, means that there's an observing of aspects that have not quite lived into the fullness of the soul, right? And so the soul, or the potential that one feels within them, may not be matching by what they see, how they dress, how they speak, the friends around them. And so that can be where the dichotomy or the burden and the challenges are, because there's not quite a meeting in your surroundings while you're aware and recognizing oneself more clearly than ever. Whereas before that, the younger ages, it's full expression to the world. There's less space for feeling burdened by others' perspectives. Okay? Because life force is moving so quickly through you and out of you. There's so many new experiences that newness is a luxury in itself. And so what we see is that there's patterns in her life, potentially, that are disengaging herself from meeting that part of herself, or desiring to see what that path looks like to get there. So to reassure her that what she feels within her, that her soul's blueprint for this planet, takes time. And you can do this for anyone in your life around that age. That what is occurring is that life is going to give you the opportunities and the circumstances to really build those stepping stones towards your great offering, looking and feeling like what you've been shown on a soul level. So thank you for that question. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Saera Burns and the Inviisbles here on the rainy coast of British Columbia. And so we've got Catherine Chapman here. Hey, sweetheart. And hello, everyone else popping on. I can't really see who's here, but I can see that there's a bunch of you. So welcome. So the next question that we have is this. All right, so it says, hey, Saera, thanks for this. I just took a huge leap of faith to move to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I feel like I was following divine guidance to be here, but I'm struggling finding the path as everything has shifted. I'm asking for advice in how to find and embody my purpose here, as I'm feeling quite stuck and struggling to stay positive. All right. Well, one thing that I can share is also we're in the time of winter. We're in the time of the winter roots. And as I've been studying, what is it to really go into the energy of winter in ourselves, even if we're in a place that is very hot, or even if we're in a place that is tropical. So how to realize that maybe what's also happening is, I'm going to get into what the Inviisbles say, but my first guidance too in exploring the nature of wintertime is that there is an opportunity to really go into the foundation that you're building your dreams and desires upon. And so fall is a harvesting, right? We just come out of the harvesting of those feelings, of those intentions, and that accumulated to the point of you knowing that you were following that yes, right? That you're following that yes towards a calling in you. And so right now, as we're going into the roots, figuring out, well, what are some deeper aspects in you that are desiring things to look a certain way on the outer world? Because winter is a time of going inwards, time of going to where we're creating that foundation and that platform for our success. And it's not necessarily, take it or leave it, everyone, but it's not necessarily the same energy of having our yes, like continually turning into things in front of us necessarily. So let's see what they have to say about that. And hello, everyone popping on. Feel free to put your question on the thread and we will get to you. So for anyone new here too, the basic guidelines are believe it, receive it, leave it, or lend it. So use your own internal barometer. A lot of these teachings might actually be right for you, even if somebody else posed them. If something doesn't sit well with you, doesn't feel like it's for you, that comes through, then disregard that like oil on water or water and oil. So here you go, Catherine. Any guidance? Let's see. Well, firstly, if yes is a key, okay? So if anyone watching, if you ever felt that true yes, that undeniable sensation that yes is what you choose in this moment, and you decide to follow that yes may be the key, okay? But finding the door that yes opens can be different. And we see this in scenario in relation to you, Catherine, how that yes brought you to Santa Fe, right? But the door isn't necessarily Santa Fe itself. Perhaps that door that you're ready to have opened is connected to a community or a group or a person. That finding who and what is in alignment with that yes. What has been calling you to be opened? And what do you have to offer? Because we do see the reason you came was there's also a deep gift in you. And you've been placed on the planet in this place to digest and learn with what might be beneath the surface of your calling. Because we see that there's something that's been hindering you from really making yourself available. And not to say that you haven't been putting yourself out to the world, but we see that they're showing me this image of a pistachio shell and how it's almost like this image, like, has anyone ever had a bag of pistachios and there's like a few in them that are just impossible to open, like that little crack, it's just too tiny, and you try chewing it and like, it's no bueno for your teeth. They're showing me that image that sometimes in life you have to figure out what is that little pistachio shell that you might have been given that just is not going to open and give you that nourishment, and how to just like make that choice, be like, you know what, I'm just going to throw that to the birds, that. And so what they're showing me is that there's different things potentially, or different ideas or relationships that have come to you in certain times in your life that might have felt auspicious, but that they're that pistachio shell, they're that experience that you want to be able to open, that you know that there's something in it, that there's something between those connections, but they're just not opening. And so to avoid focusing a lot of your attention and your presence on relationships, or on even visions and dreams that you have that might need a freaking hammer to open or somebody to help, because right now is the time to really work on like, where are there openings in your life? Okay, where is that welcomeness and that availability from life and from relationships, and just like where that door is just open for you, that crack in that door for you to go into. So that's a little bit of guidance. So in regards to where you're at, is like, if there's any little cracks in the place that you're at that feel like there's a little bit of life force in there for you. It could even be like a cafe or a place, or maybe finding like a gathering or like a weekly event, or because they're showing that you have this key, but the door is connected to a person or people that come together, that it's in that connection with people that you're going to really understand why you're there, right? And since that's not fully fueling you yet, it's because there's still some adjusting of maybe releasing aspects of your life that are that closed pistachio shell, because they're showing me that's like, it's almost like if you had a bag of pistachio shells and you kept throwing back that one that you just couldn't open into the bag, but then after a while you have to keep picking up that same thing and giving it attention and then making that choice to put it back in, like, okay, I'm not ready. And so instead of that, like, how can you save energy? How can you have more energy available for you by just like taking out these dynamics or these relationships or these even ideas that are just not ready for you? They're not easy for you, because it's more about ease right now, especially as you're experiencing these emotions. So I'm going to leave it at that. Maybe you want to go eat some pistachios and have a symbolic experience. All right, so moving on. Just going to do a little bell just to shift into this next phase. And welcome, everyone. We've got people in Mexico, Santa Fe. We've got someone in Germany. If anyone wants to say where they're calling, I always love that. I know we had somebody that I'm pretty sure Donald's in maybe Victoria, or maybe on a travel. You're welcome, Catherine. And so moving on. Oh, sorry, Nazare. I realized that you were next. So here we go. So, Nazare. It says, hi, Sarah. Could you please ask the Inviisbles if they could give me some guidance about my love life and my business, please? Thanks so much. All right. Do you want to give any clarification on your business, or do you feel, oh, we got Oakland. Sweet. In California. I'm here in Canada. Okay. Oh. Okay, so the next thing, so unless Nazare, you feel like giving any clarification on your business, I'm just going to go into that. Sometimes, unfortunately, our love life and our business can be very much connected, especially if your partners or who you're calling in your life is not in alignment with your business. So that's something to explore. So for you, my dear, I'm just going to get back here. All right. So this is for you, Nazare. Firstly, there's no need to tie double knots when the first one is going to work. And why we say this, specifically in the love life, is why does one tie that double knot in their shoelace, right? It's to ensure that it's not going to fall apart on you, that you're going to have that security. And what we see is there's some aspect of you, take it or leave it, but that is choosing to create extra security around your connections or your possible connections. And in that way, you may be focusing more on that and putting more of that out there, that it may be either reflecting your relationships that you've had or preventing certain relationships from meeting you in a way that doesn't have to pass through this extra fortification around you. And so in order to trust that your first attempts, okay, that your first way of managing your life in some ways, how do we say this? So we see that there's specifically, so I'm seeing, it's hard for me to understand what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like it's over here. It's like I see somebody, there's like a man, he feels like almost like, it's interesting because as I'm looking at like the first thing, it has this feeling of like this like grizzly or like this grizzly bear or this, like it's very like brown energy. I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but let's see what this say. So as for bringing in and co-creating with relationships and business, because this is something that is actually stemming more at the root of what's going on for you that we see, is that there are certain decisions that you are making that are affecting one or the other. In some cases, both. But one of the decisions that we see is related to how you spend your time and money. Okay. And so there is a level of investing that's important, but there's also a level of really focusing on the time that you invest and seeing your time as an investment. And so if there's something in your life that you're investing your time in, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes a day, that is disregarding that you need that time for something that's more relevant to you. Is there anything that comes up for you with that? They're like showing me that it's almost like, I like to think that in life we cast our votes to the universe by our actions and by our thoughts. And I like to think like even every day I'm constantly creating votes. I'm constantly in a space of, every yes that I make, every no that I make is really what's voting for a certain kind of lifestyle, a certain kinds of connections, a certain way of relating and interacting with existence, with my friends, with my community. And they're showing me that maybe it's like a subconscious thing that's happening, but that there's a way that you're investing your time that is depleting you in a certain way and is reinforcing something. Like it's almost like, I don't know if it's like a pattern or a habit that you have that maybe is not as beneficial or something that you're so used to doing that you forget. Like there's something about this habit that you've invested time in that in some way is creating that vote, or that is affecting both these areas of your life. And so I don't know if you have an idea of what that could be, or to explore that. And that goes for anyone watching too. I have a lot of India, African customers. Oh, yeah. And so exploring, like for anyone listening too, is like, is there something that you can think of right now that takes up even 15 minutes of your day? Okay. You have the habit of really working hard. So if that's the habit, okay, of like really working hard and really pushing it, then perhaps exploring how in some way you're investing that there needs to be that really working hard in also in relationships as well and in business. And so if you want to switch that program and start voting or casting your vote out to the universe of like, actually, I want to really relax, right? Like fully relax. And this is something I've been doing because I also can get a bit gung-ho. and so is there something, wow, we've got Michelle from Mishaka, Indiana, lovely. So is there a way that you could create 15 minutes in your day to do the exact opposite of working really hard, but to consciously create that space of like starting to program into your life? And this goes for anyone else that this might relate to, is if you're seeking more relaxation, then notice where that impulse is. Hello, Beth. Notice where that impulse is to work really hard, and then almost like ask it to just put itself beside and just do the exact opposite. So something that I've done too is having these, like, I've napped, sleeping in, whatever that is, but explore. I mean, sometimes for people that work really hard, and really hard to validate putting 15 minutes in. Oh, you're welcome, Mila. But why I'm saying this, why I'm saying like just relax everyone, or just do the exact opposite. So if you're flipped, if you're watching this and you have a habit of maybe relaxing too much, okay, but you want things to happen faster for you, you can try. I try every night, but then you go to bed. So if it's a habit, okay, so if you want to start implementing a new habit in your life, there's an idea that it takes 40 days to like reinstill that habit. So for you, what I'd suggest, Nazare, and for anyone that working really hard is an issue, how can you put in relaxation in the middle of a work day? Oh, dang. How can you create space while you're already at it to replenish and remember that you are actually in control, and that you choose to relax when you desire to relax, that you are not chained or bound to the internal momentum that you create for yourself, okay? So I feel like I'm gonna leave it at that. But why I bring that up with your business and why your love life is the main thing that tying those pieces together is that it's that voting that you're making. It's that actions that are actually in some ways getting in the way of you having the quality of experience and of relating and relationships that have more relaxation within it. Okay, new challenge. Relax during the day, 15 minutes. Okay, so moving on. Hello everyone, by the way, popping on from all around the world, it seems we have. So the next question that we've got, oh, you're welcome, Nazare, is from Kelsey, I believe. Well, I'm going to at least read what you, or no, we've got Nanette. Hello, Nanette. Okay, so Nanette says, Dear Sarah, I'm going to put this up. Right, maybe I won't put it up, but Dear Sarah, I have a question for myself. I'm in a very complicated situation with the father of my 3 children. I'm uncertain what to do. on what is the next step. So today I ask the Invisibles, what can help me to do the next step that helps us to bring healing for the whole family? All right. Is everyone hearing me all right? I'm trying this new approach of my computer not being too far. If anyone's having an issue with hearing, I'll bring it closer, but it feels nice. All right, so this is for you, Nanette, and this is for just any support with the next step of that'll help you bring healing for the whole family. Okay. Oh, listening properly. Great. The first thing that I'm seeing, like, does anyone know kohlrabi? It's like the fractal broccoli. And I'm hearing something about like turning something mundane into something epic. I don't know. Let's see what they have to say though. Maybe you just need to eat some fractal broccoli to spice it up. Cleaning out the closet of any grief is what we encourage. Because we see that there is a place that you've been storing some emotions in your own life, but also in the family's constellation, okay? And the grief that I see or that we feel is very much affecting your it's like they're showing me it's like the areola, the right rib, like this area of your body. Possibly maybe that's connected. So the right I like to think of as the giving side, so the offering side. And so this area and the rib, being able to support and how you're supporting others and how you're offering. And also like the breast being like a place of nourishment for the family. So I'm curious if there's something in relation to how you've been offering and giving to the point though it's affecting you. I don't know if there's any relation in your life. Sometimes people actually have the ailment or something happening in that area. Let's keep going. Why we brought up also the idea of this broccoli that is spectacular to the geometric spectacular nature is because there's qualities of the family that haven't quite had the space to fully shine for one another. Whether it's one person shining at a time, but as a unit, there's been a scarcity of that feeling. And so whether it's just having to become like, they're like trying to say this word that's in between like complementary and competing, like these two aspects of, and maybe that's it, is like that fine line where people are, maybe people in your family and your children are trying to learn how to complement, like be complementary to what's happening. So in some ways trying to add to it, but at the same time, it can be seen as but then this competitive thing can come up when, what is that? There's some sort of like competitive aspect I'm seeing. But it's almost like, take it or leave it, but I'm almost seeing this aspect of competitiveness is, it's hard for me to see it because there's a bunch of people, I can't actually read people without their permission, so I'm only doing what I have access to. It almost feels like there's something hidden in that though, like there's some sort of underlying feeling that there's like a competitiveness necessary. I don't know if that's in between your children and maybe for the family's attention or for each other's attention. But it's like what's coming up is this, there's something about this essence of how to move into complementary. So how to explore what the unique gifts people have if they're not necessarily getting the same amount of encouragement, or like I'm seeing that there's certain gifts that maybe some of your children have or that are hard to really see as gifts, as whereas maybe another one or a few of them have very like outward gifts. Even though they all have gifts, there's something about these subtle offerings that each family member has that needs to be acknowledged as something that's valuable and that's adding to the family. So even through the sense of, let's see if that was you responding. Yeah, even through the sense of, is there a way that you're able to, even brainstorm, like, I don't know if your family's in a place where you all can get together, but kind of like bring up or brainstorm. It could be either through written, if you aren't all together, you can send like a message of like, I'm asking for this project or this homework, like to write down different aspects of one another that you appreciate or that you've witnessed in the past that are really supportive. And it can be something as simple as like, oh, your ability to, give me a new piece of toast when I burnt mine, like that compassion. But there's something about surfacing these ways of giving that might be really simple, but that needs to be focused on how you guys complement each other, how you guys add to each other's lives. So there's probably more of that, but I'm going to stop there. So there you go, my dear. And hello, everyone popping on. And for anyone that's here and you have a private question that you want to send to me, I'm going to check my messages on and off, but you're welcome to send a private message if you don't want your name attached. So moving on. So we have Catherine. Now we have Cat with Nanette, Mademoiselle, and now we have Kelsey. All right, so Kelsey's saying, I love that reinterpretation of question. Guidance of youth of Planet, getting close to giving birth and being connected to many young wise ones I feel questions about, and drive to support wee ones staying connected to their heart's magic, keeping minds open, processing, moving through rather than storing pain. So I guess question is how to talk about, address, acknowledge, guide through conflict, trauma, to stay open and truly maintain believing for young children, but also infants, nonverbal beings. Oh, I love that. So for anyone that wasn't here earlier, you're welcome to always listen. So these are recorded. So if I answer for you and you want to go back to the answer and kind of go through it again or take notes, you're welcome to do that. So the earlier part of this, we got into, the second question was about, there was aspects about the youth of the planet that are experiencing depression and having to navigate through those emotions, or feeling that desire to just, or that suicidal nature, or ways of just retreating into that. And so now let's get into working with the wee ones, working with these little beings. If there's any guidance and support that the Inviisbles have for helping guide these little ones through and addressing conflict, or stay open to maintain believing. So any wisdom for the young ones, and how we, as I'm a mother, I have a 6-year-old, and it's such a powerful mission, right? To be able to support and guide the next generation with beliefs and tools so that they can navigate their own internal journey with processing the world, right? And the world that they're born into, and how they navigate that, or even the family dynamics that they're born into, even their birth stories that they're born into, right? So this is for the wee ones. This is for any guidance on how we can support them through continuing to believe and have that vibrancy and still navigating what's real and hard in their lives. I also feel called to share too, for anyone that's on Salt Spring Island, before I go into this question, is that, because I think Kelsey, you're here on the island, maybe still, but every Wednesday I do by donation Ask the Inviisbles. So between 10 and 1, it's drop-in. So if you're on Salt Spring Island, BC, and you want to just pop on in, there's a sign-up list in the waiting room. So you can just sign up or send me a message if you want to come for next week. So here we go. This is for the wee ones. So many have heard of this saying, sharing is caring, and this gets brought and taught to many children. But what hasn't necessarily been taught to all the children is how to honor that there's some things that it's okay to not share with the world or with your peers, because that can be lost in these teachings. Though, of course, it's important to share, it's also equally important to know when you need, or when a child needs, to feel valued for their desire to feel protective of something that is very important to them. A lot of the time, what they're protecting is more their sense of control, but sometimes it's more the art of creating space for these children to know that they have a say in what feels right and what feels wrong to them. Though it can be more impulsive and erratic because there's not the same context, okay? But how to honor these little children for the feelings that they have, even as abstract or without ground that it may be to us. Because in reestablishing these connections to their feelings, if there is a no in their being, and life or people continue to try to encourage that no or demand that no, to conform that no into a yes that will make the situation feel better, well, that can be the root of so much pain in life. To be taught that your no is actually not valid because your no doesn't go under or does not follow the rules or the guidelines of when it's appropriate to say no, when you are allowed to say no, when your no isn't going to challenge another person or create conflict. Because with children, it's so important to remember that learning one's no is so imperative to being able to navigate life as it comes. If one is supposed to continuously conform their no into a yes for the sake of pleasing, for the sake of having more ease in relations, then that can also open a lot of doorways that do not need to be open or explored. We see this a lot with crises that plague, is especially how to understand when that no is there, when that no is fortified, when the lessons and the teachings and the indescribable feeling of what a true no is in a child, that gets to get brought into their youth, that gets to get brought into their adulthood, And so all this gray space, all this between what they want and what they don't want, is where a lot of pain can be brought up. And so that's something we want to share with you. There's a lot more questions, so we're going to stop it like that. But what can you do for a child in your life? This goes for anyone watching. When they say no, when they put their foot down, what's a new way of approaching that, and that isn't the same as trying to convince them to say yes? Of course, this isn't something to do all the time, because as parents or as guardians or as support for the next generation, it's important also to give options. But what can you do to explore what that feels like? You just listen to that no. Create space for it. Be patient. And maybe trust that that no will become a yes when that little person is ready. Thank you. I love that one. Oh, I gotta put that one to work when I get home. All right, so moving on, and hello everyone, by the way. So let's see how we're doing for time. All right, we've got John next. Hey, John. And then, okay, we've got Michelle. Okay. Okay, and then we've got Christy. I didn't see your original post. So let's see. I think that that's going to be enough questions for the rest of our time here. So I'm just going to put a post. Oh, we have Kelsey says, I'm going to show that because that's sweet. Says, many thanks, love, and friends. That resonates deeply. I'm on the Sunshine Coast now, but hopefully someday in the warmer months we'll line up to be around for drop-in. Oh, you made it to the Sunshine Coast. Yay. That little baby to get born. Okay, so I'm just going to post this here for a moment. Oops, sorry. Okay. So here we go, John. Are you still here, John? Are you still on? Let's see. John! If you are... Okay, if you are not on, I'm going to move to the next person. You're here! Oh, wonderful. Okay, perfect. Let me just find your question here. I hope you're all having a beautiful new moon, by the way. What a great time of setting intentions, creating some space for this next year, well, more importantly, I mean, it's the new moon of the new year. So it's a really special moon for us here this would be a great time if you didn't write down some yearly affirmations or intentions to put that down in writing. I just found, I found some intentions that I made in 2015 because I've been moving, so I'm going through all these writings. And it was surprising to see what has come to the surface and then what is so far from happening. And I'm like, ooh. In fact, to the point where I had different businesses back then, and I was building all these intentions for my businesses, and now I don't even have those businesses. So that was fascinating to watch, of just that shedding of different responsibilities or ways that I've been putting my attention and my awareness and focus. So John, I'm just trying to find your message here. There you are. Here, let me show this for a second. So it says, hi Sarah, I have a question about what next steps I need to take, like what to focus on in my relationship with money and receiving abundance, reciprocity for fully giving my gifts right now. All right, let's see what they've got to say about that. And just for the sake of it, let's go into it. This is our last phase. This is our last chapter. I like to go in through 3 different phases. So here's our last gate of this council today. All right, money blocks and money spaciousness. So bringing in, being able to receive in the abundance. Hello, Katie. Being able to receive the abundance and reciprocity. Fully give your gifts right now. Thank you. And so, Katie, if you just popped on too, I think we have enough questions queued for the day, but you're welcome. We're about to get into an abundance question. Okay. I'm hearing this little poem, which is, going with the flow is not how abundance will grow. Interesting. I'm going to repeat that. So going with the flow is not how abundance will grow. Going with the flow is not how abundance will grow. I mean, this is not for everyone, but for some reason this is coming up for you. So let's see what they have to say about that. So when listening to the internal dialogue for success that speaks so quietly in the back room of our mind, we see that there's something that has been affecting your digestion, okay, your intestinal system, your way that you digest life. And so why this is in connection to how abundance is coming through is we want you to explore your connection with digestion and with abundance. Because with abundance, there is a way that it does need to move through our system. That when we have things come through our being, we're pulling at the nutrients, right? That intestinal tract it's absorbing, we're absorbing the nutrients from what's getting put in. And if you can see it symbolically, it's those nutrients that are much like money in life. Those are an aspect of the nutrients. But if there is something going on with your digestion and you're not absorbing as much nutrients as you can, or things are getting backlogged, you're not able to bring in or have space or prioritizing digesting what's already been there, been putting more in, then that can affect your capacity to really navigate what those nutrients want to turn into. And so with abundance, with mentality, this goes for anyone also exploring this concept. With bringing in more resources into your life, first, of course, there needs to be a reason. It can't just be because life will be better, okay? For some people, yes, but it has to be a reason that you are willing to trust in, okay? And for many people, especially if you're somebody that does a lot of either humanitarian work or healing work with other people, that money needs to be able to, or a way of it being able to actually create more space for you to offer more, is one of the back doors. Realizing, and really, when I say realizing, we mean really feeling that it is so important for your work in the world to have money so that you can be more available, so that you can continuously focus your energy into areas of life that you really value. Because without the money supporting, and this doesn't go for everyone, but there is money in this world. It is part of the playing game, that one of the pieces in this game. And it is also one of the pieces that once there can be a constant stream of in certain ways, then you can get to the next level of how you offer and serve. Because we see that as much as you're offering and serving, there's a whole other octave that can be reached when this sustainability comes in. So one belief we want you to explore is the belief, I cannot have the abundance I seek without releasing my desire or choice to be free from burdens. Okay. This seems a little interestingly worded, but the other one that we're hearing is I allow myself to be undivided between my goals and the resources needed to fuel and be a platform for those goals anchoring on the planet. And so you know all this, right? So what we want you to explore right now when we're getting to the digestion system is there ways of actually using food or using what you intake as a form of abundance mentality? So is there something that could either, it's like they're showing me this image of you making like this abundance shake, and maybe you already do that, or something like something that, I mean, it could be as simple, like, do you do smoothies? Do you like make killer smoothies? Are you into smoothies? Because there's something about them wanting, and this is something I've been doing too, is like I mean, just putting all kinds of like amazing ingredients into my smoothies in the morning. And I've noticed that apart from having more nutrients, and it's been helping me like kind of claim the, like, this is not about me though, this is about you. They're showing me there's something about your intestines. There's something about your intestines and what you take in, and also working with that in a way that is like there's something in there. I don't know, maybe you just need to get a colonoscopy. But working with your intestines as though if there's a block, or if there's, oh wow, but if there's like using food as something to move through things in your body, because it feels like there's something in your intestines in relation to your abundance. And so maybe doing intestinal clearing. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more to this, but exploring, maybe making your abundance smoothies. Maybe even just really splurging on your favorite superfood powder blend. You'll know what to do. It could even be water. I mean, you could even do it through water. We're doing abundance work through water, but it feels like having nutrients is going to be really helpful. All right, thank you. So moving on. Hello, everyone, by the way, popping on. This is coming to the end of this. So it's Ask Inviisbles. So we're here every Wednesday at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. I also do private sessions on distance or here in my office, downtown Ganges, or I'm moving actually in a couple of weeks. I'm going to have a really special forest sanctuary out in the north end of the island. So there'll be rose bushes and cedar trees. And oh, you're welcome, John. And so if you're visiting, you can come see me at either my downtown space or my forest sanctuary. And so for anyone popping on, we've got one question left, which is from you, Christy. Yeah, your other question didn't pop up. And if anyone has, oh wait, I see people have been, okay, I see that we actually have questions I didn't even notice. So we've got a question from Megan. Hey, Megan, are you still here? Because I didn't even notice your question until now. Let's see, because we've got space for Megan, if you're here, and Christy. I get to go longer because my husband now has been watching my daughter, whereas before I'd have to zoom off to get her from the bus. So Megan, are you here? Because I think your question was earlier. And if you're not here, I'm just going to get to Christie's. I'll give you a moment. Are you here? Just saw this. Oh, Beth looks like she's popped on at some point. Okay. I'm just going to press this. Okay, I'm just going to get to Christie's unless... Hey, Nuno. Welcome to Ask the Inviisibles. We're coming to the end, but if I don't hear back from Megan, who has posted a question earlier, you can be after Christy because I've got space for 2 more. Okay, so here we go. So Christy says, I didn't see my original post. And so for anyone that does want to get their question across to me, the easiest way is to actually go through the Be Live link, because otherwise it kind of can get lost through Facebook if you post it on the thread that I share, just for clarity in the future. So Christy says, nice to see you. Hello. How are things going in your new space? Oh, it's well. I should give you guys a tour. Here's it's actually raining right now. This is this new little office. You can see the rain on the windows. You can't quite see, but woo! Outside there's boats. I'm in a harbor, and so I'm looking out over the Saela Sea, and the rain's pouring down. It's quite dramatic, actually. All right. So for Christie's, and for anyone else that popped on earlier, just reminding you, it is the new moon in January. So please, if you haven't already put intentions on for the year, get to it. It's a great time for that. So I'm wondering if the Inviisibles have any insight on what they see for me in 2018 and where to focus my healing energy. All right, let's see about that. Here we go. First, I'll get that left foot on the ground and off the ground, okay? Because we see that you're receiving a lot from your past through that foot. But in order to move forward into the future, there's a certain kind of momentum that requires you to take the next step from receiving. So for 2018, how can you explore the nervous system of your body and of the planet? If the planet has a nervous system, what does that look like? How does that turn up in environmental experiences? Because there's something connected with your capacity, we see, to really start working on a planetary perspective, okay? And so exploring those areas of your life coming this next year that have been, we don't want to say procrastinating necessarily, but have been on not the back burner, but patiently witnessing to see when the time is right. This next year is a time to actually instigate qualities of yourself, to explore different areas of who you can be that you haven't felt safe to really expand into. It's almost like they're showing me this image of, this is a year of putting on many hats, like this feeling that there's parts of yourself that really haven't been able to really explore themselves because maybe they were something that didn't explore themselves when you were younger, or, during times when it'd be easier to go through the like awkwardness or the hurdles of coming into that part of yourself. But they're showing me that there's like aspects of your character that want to be expressed this year, and it's okay for it to come out in different ways. And like they're almost showing like costumes, or really delving into, and that could be like maybe with that exploring is like maybe finding like a wardrobe that speaks to this part of yourself that you might feel shy about, or maybe even as homework or something to really get to that breaking edge, those edge points. For anyone listening too, is if there's a certain character or certain aspect that you don't feel like is actually associated to you, but you also haven't explored it, that maybe you've had this like little guilty desire to explore it. Maybe it is that little red dress that is totally not your style, but if you had one, maybe you find an opportunity to wear one. And so they're kind of showing me like that this is a great time of like not shape shifting fully, but you're safe to expand into these different areas. And then through that, you might find out like, okay, that's not really something I want to go for. But they're showing me that there's parts of your character that you haven't grown into or given enough space to, that is in some ways actually connected to a lot of the other areas of your life that want that momentum. And so the other thing, they're like, red, red, red. The other thing that they're saying is something in relation to like your spine and your kidneys, but it's like maybe just like continuously releasing anything that has been stored in the kidneys that it's not yours. Like they're showing me like this older woman. I don't know if you know her, but like it's almost like you've been holding something in your kidneys that's not yours, or maybe it's your own older crone self. I know. Maybe you want to explore her and your character, really get into the crone and the old wise woman. But just this year of like really taking out energies that have played a foundation in supporting you, but realizing that they're really not yours. And that could also be in this exploration of your character, is like, are there certain qualities of how you've shown up or how the world sees you that really don't reflect you anymore, and how to just shift that. I mean, even creating a new name for yourself, or like not to live into, but if you, they keep showing me this character thing, like playing with characters and like divine theatership. I mean, take it or leave it, but it can be very powerful work. So thank you. And I want to thank everyone who's still on. I know we went way over today, but it's nice to see a few people still here. And since I haven't heard from Megan, so hello, Katie. So the last question for today, hello everyone popping on too. So last question then for today, since I haven't heard from Megan, is from you, Nino. Welcome. Where are you calling from? Where are you watching from? If anyone hasn't said where they're watching from, I love to. We have somebody in Germany. We had someone in Indiana, in Canada, in California, in BC. Oh. Christy says, thank you, that's hilarious. I was literally sitting on my left leg when you channeled that. Let that left leg go forward. All right, so Nuno, my dear, this is for you if you're still on. Are you still on, Nuno? Just to make sure I'm talking to you. And if you want to share where you're watching from. And if Nuno, you are not on, then I will close this session. So while I'm waiting to hear if you're on, Nuno, just type in a little, oh, there you are. Awesome. Perfect. Great. So you're next. So it says, hi, Sarah, does the Inviisbles have anything for me? Okay. That's funny, they're showing me like this singing. They're like, I'm seeing this image of somebody like, ah, like really just belting it. Um, and I wonder if that's in relation to a need for like greater expression, or if you actually sing. Let's see what they have to say. Why we see that, this image of the freedom of voice, of that operatic singer who brings forth the power of their sound, their lungs, their capacity to hold frequencies and bring it to the world. Why we're bringing this up is we see that there's energy that wants to move through your throat. Okay, it wants to be released to the world. It wants to paint the world with its colors. And whether or not you feel comfortable doing this in, with other people around, is there a way that you could start exploring your expression and possibly exploring where there might be resistance to the full force, the force of that? Because what we're bringing this up is that kind of like what you don't sing. Well, what they're showing me, it's like this thing in your throat that wants to like get like just like ah, but it means, so why they're showing me like operatic singing is there's a certain level of like commitment to being loud. It's like you gotta pass through those quiet, like humbling sounds. And so it doesn't necessarily mean like go off into the streets. Maybe if you want to really like test yourself, just go out in the streets and like sing the top of the moon. But is there a way, do you have a place that you could explore sounding in your life? Like, I don't know what your home is like or where you are, but they're showing me that there's sounds that wants to come through, and it's almost like there may even be like a potential gift in singing for you if you can get through where the block is with that. Because like what I see is, does that make sense? Yeah, it's like what I see is there's energy that wants, but it's like why they showed operatic singing. It's like there's a lot of energy in that. So it's that kind of, there's a lot of force in your being, in your body that wants to like release itself. And so how can you work on almost like there's this feeling of like reclaiming. Yes, you can. You can make loud noises. And they don't have to be beautiful, right? Like they can be an exploration in sounding. Sometimes I remember a big healing that I've learned about is how to use sound to actually move energy in my body. And sometimes, and so I could focus, this is for anyone that wants an exercise, is I can bring my focus to a part of my body. Maybe if you have pain there, so just say like, okay, I'm gonna bring it here. And I just allow whatever sound wants to come out, okay, with the intention that it is helping release some of that tension or some of that pain, or it's a sound that's needed to be integrated. So just say here, I'd go like, right? And you can also play with realizing like what parts of your body have different sounds, right? And maybe you can access different sounds in yourself by putting your hand there. Like maybe your hips can access a different like sound. And why they're bringing this up is it feels, apart from like, sometimes it's also sometimes, not just, take it or leave it, but sometimes the gifts that people have in this world are the same things that can actually be resisted from thriving, from whatever past life or familial karma around what it is to explore and go through these, explore becoming, like coming into your ways of expressing yourself to the world. And so the sounds I'm hearing too is like almost without words will be really helpful, like just exploring sound without words. If you do want to explore more like toning or harmonies, you could maybe even on YouTube, if you could find like a harmonium, and I think that's what it's called, a harmonium, which is like this, it's like an air, you kind of pull it in. They do it in a lot of like Hindu like kirtan work as well, but it's almost like a breathing. It goes like, and it's really, I found that that's really easy to start practicing toning on, because you can kind of tone with the harmonium, unless you happen to have a harmonium. But it's a really beautiful tool to, it's very simple. It's just like you just push it in and out. It's like the breath that creates different tones depending on how you do that. So exploring toning, exploring releasing, whatever that is, because there's something in you that just wants out, it wants to be like a free bird. All right. You're welcome, dear. So thank you for your question, and thank you everyone for popping on. It is the end of Ask the Inviisibles. And just for anyone here too, we come on every week, Wednesdays at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. And I also do private sessions, which you can find through my website, which is www.deepsouljourneys.com. And I think it's in the link. So you can explore me. I have a YouTube channel if you ever want to see just little snippets. So the YouTube channel, I have different, 5 to 10 minute episodes where we get into different themes for humanity and the planet and emotions and, concepts to explore. So thank you all for popping on, and have a blessed day. I'm hoping to not get too wet as I go out into the rain. All right, aloha. Doo-doo-doo.